With Peppa Pig running for so many years, it's hard to keep track of all the new characters that appear and disappear over time. But some new characters are still yet to arrive or have already made appearances in recent seasons. Do you know them all? Did you know that next season will feature a major wedding episode? Yes, that's right! The first wedding episode in 20 years of Peppa Pig. In this episode, Mr. Bull and Mrs. Cow will finally take their relationship to the next level and get married in a beautiful and romantic episode. And this is where we'll meet two new characters who will appear only in this episode. Mrs. Leopard, a women's fashion expert, will be in charge of designing Mrs. Cow's wedding dress, as well as the dresses for the bridesmaids. And of course, you guessed it, Peppa will be one of them. But why will this new character only appear in one episode, you ask? Well, that's because the actress voicing Mrs. Leopard is a very famous and busy person, so she could only make a special appearance. We're talking about none other than Katy Perry. That's right, the pop diva will make a special guest appearance in Peppa Pig because, according to her, she grew up watching the show and now wants to do something special for her daughter, who watches it every day. And Mr. Raccoon will be the wedding cake baker, also making a special appearance. Since Katy Perry is joining the cast for this wedding episode, what better addition than her fiancé, actor Orlando Bloom, to make a cameo as well? Can you imagine how cool it would be to have both your parents appear in your favorite show? So, grab your formal attire, because today, we're diving into the new characters appearing in the upcoming season of Peppa Pig, as well as some recent characters that have already shown up, but we might have forgotten about. Here, on Zigzag, Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom are still set to debut a new character. But next on our list is a character who was already introduced in the series and then never appeared again. I bet you don't remember this character. Back in season 2 of the show, Peppa gets a little friend visiting her house named Delphine Donkey. This character is a special friend to Peppa because she and Delphine are what we call pen pals. Peppa lives in England, and Delphine lives in France. The two formed a long-distance friendship, and now they are finally meeting in person because Delphine traveled to England to practice her English. Look at how brave this little donkey is, traveling to a country where she doesn't speak the language just to practice. Good thing she already has a friend waiting for her there, right? I bet that makes things much easier to handle. The funniest part of all this is that she apologizes for not speaking English very well, and Daddy Pig tries to be all nice about it, saying that she doesn't speak that bad. Look at this guy. She speaks perfectly, and he says she doesn't speak that bad, as if she speaks poorly at all. But then she starts asking him questions about how the imperative verb becomes a direct or indirect transitive. And of course, he has no idea how to answer and ends up embarrassing himself as always. Would you be able to answer a question like that if she were speaking English with you? I know I definitely wouldn't. Tell us in the comments what your answer would be using the hashtag Delphine so we can find out. Another secondary character who came and went during Peppa's 20-year history was Kylie Kangaroo. Kylie, just like Delphine, is another one of Peppa's friends from another country. For someone who almost never travels and doesn't have the internet, Peppa sure knows a lot of people from other places, huh? Kylie has one advantage that Delphine doesn't. She already speaks English because her kangaroo family is visiting from Australia. Even though they have a different accent and speak a little louder with a more nasal voice, they are still perfectly understandable to any other English-speaking country. After all, Australians aren't Scots, so you can understand them without subtitles. Kylie first appears in an episode named after her, and then she shows up in Peppa's second movie called My First Cinema Experience. She also appears in the episodes Muddy Puddle Festival and Christmas with Kylie Kangaroo. She was introduced a few years ago, and unlike Delphine, and definitely unlike Mrs. Leopard and Mr. Raccoon, she is the new character who has appeared the most in the series so far. This is a much more recent new character than the others we've mentioned, except, of course, for Katy Perry's. But it's yet another one on the list that only appeared once and then vanished off the face of the earth. Grandpa Pig's robot is an invention that was supposed to be very useful for him, but it ended up only causing problems for everyone involved. He tried to pull an Elon Musk and built a robot to help with daily tasks, like tidying up the room, serving juice to his grandkids, leveling up a path of exile, to account so he could pretend to be a hardcore gamer, even though it's obvious he has no idea where to click in the game. You know, just like Elon Musk, and just like art imitates life, things didn't go very well for Grandpa Pig either, because when he ordered the robot to clean the room, it didn't understand its directives and made an even bigger mess. When he asked it to help in his workshop, the robot wrecked everything and caused total destruction. It's that same old story, right? You just can't trust grandparents with technology. We already got proof of that when Mommy Pig gave him an old computer as a gift to help him organize his ideas, and he didn't even know how to turn it on because he was afraid of breaking it. So, it was pretty obvious that everything would go wrong if this guy tried to build a helper robot, huh? If you want a helper that actually does its job, just subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell because it will always remind you when a new video is out. Out of all the characters on this list, Wendy Wolf is definitely the most popular among Peppa's new characters. She was introduced a few seasons ago, in season 4, and I bet you won't guess how many episodes she has been in. 12 episodes. Dude, for a new character who barely qualifies as a secondary character, she showed up a lot, huh? And not only did she appear in regular episodes, but she was also present in 2 special episodes that were over 15 minutes long. I think some producer must really like Wendy Wolf, huh? But honestly, who wouldn't like such a friendly and gentle little wolf? She has a very adorable personality, and in many ways, she is similar to Rebecca Rabbit, since both of them are much quieter than the other kids and prefer to just chill and have fun with their friends. Unlike Peppa, for example, who always wants to be the center of attention because she is the main character and who constantly picks fights with other classmates, like the ones she has every now and then with Rebecca herself, like in the episode George's Friend, where they start arguing over their younger siblings. But of course, we can't forget that Wendy is a wolf, so it's kinda weird having all these animals, who would normally be her prey, just hanging around her like that. But maybe she just hasn't awakened her predator instincts yet, or maybe they simply don't exist in Peppa's world. This isn't a new character, since her first appearance was all the way back in season 7, but the situation Granny Sheep is in now is completely new and totally unique in the entire series. Did you know that? Granny Sheep is Mommy Sheep's mother, and, of course, Susie, and Charlotte's grandmother. Her first appearance was in season 7, in the episode Dinosaur Party. She is one of the few characters who has gone through a redesign because, as we can see here in Dinosaur Party, she had a very simple design that just looked like a recolor of Mommy Sheep. But in the episode where she moves in, she has a completely unique personality and a distinct visual identity. Speaking of unique, this is something that only the Sheep family has in the entire series. They are the only multi-generational household in the show. This means that there is no other home in Peppa's world where the grandparents, parents, and grandchildren all live together in the same house. 3 generations living in the same place. Man, that's really cool. They're a very close-knit family, especially since they're all women, since Daddy Sheep and Grandpa Sheep aren't mentioned anymore.